Monday night, and you hear that very familiar riff. It is your boy, Angry Tensai, with his main man, the legend himself, coming from Iowa tonight, our very own Big Dick. Big Dick, how you doing tonight, brother?
Angry Tensai, I am doing well. I am in the hometown of your WWE champion, Seth Rollins. Just 2 hours ago, I was rubbing one out in Seth Rollins' childhood mailbox. How does that make you feel?
I'm not surprised. Are you seriously in Davenport, or are you like right outside of it?
I was in Davenport all day. I am actually in a town called Bettendorf. And it's basically where the Riverboat Casino is, where I just robbed the place of many Jack Daniels and Cokes and about $150 in the span of an hour.
We've always been a softie for the casinos, but I'm hoping that
Oh, it's full chub.
I'm hoping that casino you were in was broadcasting Raw tonight.
You know what? They weren't, and that's why I'm here. I was actually listening to Raw on a play-by-play during my run. I had my little Bluetooth in, and like, sir, you can't have that in. I'm like, no, it's okay. I need it because I'm deaf, and I listened to Raw on the radio this evening.
Well, you know what? You may be blind to Raw, but I can bring color to that for you. So with us as well is Killer Kev. Killer Kev, I believe we are part of our first simulcast tonight.
Yes, we are. We have joined a new partnership with the VOC Nation, and every Monday night you will not only hear Raw Reaction on Angry Marks Podcast Network at AngryMarks.com, you will also hear us live on VOC Nation Radio Network at VOCNation.com, which streams via Blog Talk Radio, which means this is the first time that an Angry Marks show has been back on Blog Talk Radio in like 5 years.
Wow. My condolences to VOC Nation. I apologize in advance for the many off-color remarks and the profanities and many other things that I will say when I'm either half asleep or half crocked.
Big Vic, I would say, there's a lot of things we do. We do have many odd New Jersey references. We talk a lot about horse racing, but we don't use a lot of obscenities. That's one thing I'm very proud of. We can get our humor across without too much swearing, but once in a while, things like Braun Strowman will bring that out of us. Speaking of which, one of the main points of tonight's Raw was the Wyatt family kidnapping the Undertaker last night, and then they continue this odd ritual of kidnappings tonight. I don't even know where to start with Bray Wyatt and what he did tonight and what he's done last night. One thing I'll say was rather odd. I have no problem with Bray and his cronies going after the Undertaker and picking his bones after his match because they're obsessed with destroying the aura and the legend of the Undertaker. But what I don't like about the whole thing they did was we're supposed to forget that he lost the rubber match and maybe his most important match of the year an hour and a half earlier against Roman Reigns. And to compound that, tonight, who was supposed to avenge the Undertaker? None other than his brother Kane, who was also soundly defeated clean by Seth Rollins last night in his attempt to right the world title. And now what happens? Both Kane and Undertaker are carted off, literally, by the goons of Bray Wyatt and Bray Wyatt in this weird ritual. Like, where are they taking the bodies? What are they doing with Kane and Undertaker? I don't know.
I was a little worried. I thought that we were going to do the same thing they did to Daniel Bryan, was cart him off, make him join the Wyatt family, and then 2 months later he wins the WWE Championship.
Well,
so I don't know. They could be prepping the Undertaker for a face turn and WWE Championship in about 2 months. So we'll see.
Yeah, I was just surprised. They rehashed. Undertaker only has so many feuds left. I'm surprised they're going to rehash a storyline with Bray and the Undertaker unless there's some kind of alignment between the Brothers of Destruction and the Wyatt family. But I was a little disturbed by the whole thing, and I just don't understand. Okay, so now you lose to Roman Reigns, the most important match you've had all year, and 90 minutes later you think, you know what? I'm going to go after Undertaker now. It just doesn't really make sense to me. But
well, I don't know, because Seth Rollins got his butt kicked by Randy Orton at WrestleMania and promptly turned around, cashed in his Money in the Bank, and took the WWE Championship. So, yeah, I mean, it's like it's WWE short-sightedness as far as trading wins and losses. I mean, you say every Monday night we can tell who's going to win in a pay-per-view by who goes over at Monday Night Raw.
It's too bad. I mean, you know what's funny? I was watching a match that, if everybody can, do yourself a favor and YouTube it. It was on Raw in, I believe, 2001. It was Taka Michinoku got a world title match against Triple H. And basically Triple H that night was able to pick any opponent he wants for the title. And he picked Taka. Taka was one of the top lightweights, cruiserweights in WWE at the time. What Taka decided to do was go down to the ring with his buddy, Sho Funaki from Kaientai, and they hired the APA, Bradshaw and Farouk, to try and help him win the title. And he came an eyelash away from winning the WWE title, at the time WWF title, several times throughout that match. It was about a 9-minute match, an outstanding match. And I was reading the comments, and we talk about trading wins. And one of the comments said, with their main title, WWF would never pull the trigger on something like this, even though it would have been awesome. It would have been the ultimate in shock value, the ultimate in anyone can beat anyone. They just never would do this. And, I kind of agree with that statement. And that really sums up the WWF. They'll never let someone, outside of, with the exception of maybe Hulk Hogan and John Cena, no one will ever get that dominance in today's WWF. I mean, even whether it be Seth Rollins or whatever, he will lose the title, and then he will go on to a year of essentially losing, just like CM Punk did. It just, overall, you wind up 500, and it's unfortunate,
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. You have very few superstars. You know what? Maybe I'll say Lesnar could be, but he wrestles a half dozen matches a year. So if he gets 5-1, that's fine.
But he was 500 up until they turned him crazy, and he won the Undertaker match and then went on his winning streak. I mean, he lost clean to John Cena and Triple H. I mean, he lost half of his matches up until when he came back that second time from UFC, up until then. So, I think at the end of the day, Bray Wyatt will always wind up in the middle of the card, unfortunately. I mean, I think this Roman Reigns feud was a really big match. It was a good feud. I loved it. And Roman Reigns winds up at the top of the card, and Bray Wyatt, although, he gets a nice program here with Undertaker and Kane, I don't know. I don't feel a lot of momentum in it, and
yeah, I mean, I feel like if they didn't already do the whole WrestleMania moment thing, I mean, it would actually build suspense. Like, okay, you know what? They can feud for the next couple of months and build it something a little bigger WrestleMania. Now, it's basically going to be Undertaker putting him over WrestleMania after a formal.
I don't know if they're necessarily going to fight. I mean, it might be at Survivor Series, but if you remember, and I thought that match was vastly underrated, although not very long. I thought Undertaker and Bray Wyatt put on a good show, but Undertaker won pretty decisively in that match, if you recall. So I don't know really what's open there outside of the revenge angle. Kev, let me ask you a quick question while you're here. Any thoughts on carrying the way the Wyatts are carrying people off now?
It's interesting, and I don't know where this is going. I'll say this. I was not very happy with the main event match at the pay-per-view last night, and I was like, geez, I'm glad this is finally over. I'm glad we're finally done with The Undertaker. And then the Wyatts do this, and I don't know where they're going. I don't know what they're doing. I I don't know if I want to get invested in it or not, because WWE's writing at times it's on fire and sometimes it's a complete miss, and I really don't know how to feel about this, but I've got a feeling that they're going to try for something big, because one of the things they've plugged the last couple of nights is that the upcoming Survivor Series is the 25th anniversary of the debut of The Undertaker. So what exactly are they going to do with Undertaker? And I hope it doesn't involve anything with Undertaker actually wrestling.
All right, Killer Kev, I have a question for you. You said you hated the main event. Do you hate the main event, or do you hate the Wyatt family carrying out the Undertaker after the main event? Or did you hate that neither of the main event participants had to be taken to the emergency room afterwards? Because that's what happened last 3 or 4 pay-per-views, I feel like.
Well, actually, Brock Lesnar had to get 9 stitches in his head last night, so I don't know if that required a trip to the emergency room, but
I thought it was outstanding. I agree to Vic's question.
But I don't. Yeah. I mean, I did not like the main event match between Lesnar and Undertaker. I thought it was too slow, and there were just too many spots where Lesnar had to cover up for Undertaker, and the spots were just bad, especially the last couple of minutes towards the end with Lesnar ripping up the boards. Every spot after that was just botched, and it looked bad, and I just didn't like it. It completely ruined it for me, and I'm glad Undertaker. I want Undertaker to be done. I don't want Undertaker to wrestle anymore. Leave me with the good memories of Undertaker when he was in his prime. That's the Undertaker I want to remember. I don't want to remember this Undertaker.
But you know what? I like this match because I watch wrestling pay-per-view, Raw, and like maybe some historical matches, but for the most part, I've never seen anybody rip the canvas off and have like exposed wood in the ring.
Yeah,
I thought that was completely just badass.
Yeah, the spot.
You know what? That's what I want to see. I don't care if Undertaker does it. I don't care if Lesnar does it. I care that I get to see it, and I'm like, holy crap! I didn't know there was wood under the ring.
Yeah, the spot itself was badass, and it should have been badass. Unfortunately, every move they did after that was just completely exposed, and it made the whole thing look bad. The whole ending was just awful, because every spot they were supposed to do was supposed to be on that exposed wood, and not a single spot actually happened on the exposed wood.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but I think the shock value is still there, and it set up the end of the match. So, you remember, to Vic's point, you remember things like the Nexus ripping the ring apart and going and using the ropes as weapons. You think about Mark Henry and Big Show falling through the ring, and you think about a moment like this. I mean, it's different. So, we'll leave this Undertaker, Lesnar, Wyatt thing here, but Kev, if I learned one thing from you over the last couple of weeks, I am coming around on the fact that certain people should, when you get over 50, so to speak, it's very difficult.
Oh, jeez. I'm sorry.
What?
I took a drink of water and sting. Sorry.
No,
sorry. What were you saying, Kenta?
Let's not cover it up. Let's be truthful. Sting, yes, great example. I love Sting, one of my favorite all-time guys. I mean, when I was a young kid, he was just a young up-and-comer himself. He's given me 25 plus years of entertainment. It's time for him to not step in a ring anymore. He's given his body has given all, and he shows it with every step he takes. Every move he's done in the ring in the last 3 years has just shown that his time's up.
He's given his body?
Yeah, he has given his body to the wrestling fans.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you what you've done to your bodies. I don't want to see another one of these. It's still real to me, damn it. That's what that reminded me of when you said that. They've given their bodies. Thank you, Mr. Funk, for saying what needed to be said. Like I said, I agree with you. These guys, today's roster is just too talented and too good and too quick. Unless you're going to have an all-out brawl with Undertaker, maybe once a year, that match can work. But, I mean, it's got to basically be a glorified hardcore match. And, I mean, that's a gimmick match. And anyone can do a gimmick match. So we'll leave it there. I guess before we go into the WWE title hunt, because that really dominated tonight's show, I don't want to get lost in the shuffle the Divas match that took place tonight, because there was a very big development. Backstage, we found out that the Team PCB would be reunited, which was Paige, Charlotte, and Becky Lynch. And you know what I liked backstage? I like how every time Paige says the name Natty, she says Natty, Natty, not Natty, Natty. I don't know.
It sounds like a 2-year-old saying Natty.
I know, it's so funny. I mean, it's odd. Anyway, they have a match against the Bellas, and hopefully this team stuff is finally over after tonight. This match wasn't very remarkable in a night where we did see some good matches, but the Bellas got the win. Becky Lynch took the loss, and what happened after the match, which was pretty interesting, was Paige, not only while Charlotte was trying to help up Becky Lynch, not only did she take out Charlotte from behind, but hit her with a really devastating rampage, but then she picked up the injured Becky Lynch and then rampaged her as well. And as both of them were laying down, face down, I couldn't believe Paige started stomping on both of them while they were down. It was pretty vicious and pretty ruthless. Paige is a heel, full-fledged. Any thoughts on that, Vic?
You know what? I don't know. There's people who she's ginger-esque, so she's almost goth. And you know what? I've always pictured her as a heel. I mean, she gets a nice face pop the first time she comes out, being the young, naive NXT rookie coming out and making her debut and paying her dues. But I don't know. I think that she's down and out. She's a heel.
Is she goth or emo?
I'm gonna say goth. Emo probably has more tattoos. I would say.
There's a big difference between goth and emo.
Yeah, I think she's goth. She's just looks like she's like way too much eyeliner, pasty white, and possibly worships the devil.
The Divas division, you want to talk about everybody being 500? How many non-title matches did we have to watch Nikki Bella lose over the last year? You know what I mean?
Oh,
everybody's 500. Seth Rollins included. The U.S. title was a vehicle for him to lose matches. It's pretty bizarre, but that was a pretty interesting development. But really what tonight was about was the WWE title. And if you won your match last night or had any interest in active wrestling, you were in on what somewhat was almost like a tournament tonight. Basically what happened at the top of the show, I really liked Triple H and Stephanie in the ring with Seth Rollins tonight. Not only did they legitimately, I think legitimately jack Rollins, but they actually meant it, and how proud of them they were, and you know what a great job he's done, and he's knocked down everybody, and they literally went down all his wins as the champion: Dean Ambrose, Cena, Randy Orton, Kane, Sting. They went down the list, and Brock Lesnar, and they were very complimentary, and then Seth Rollins gave back the love to Triple H and Stephanie, and they said, not only did you beat Kane, but because of that, you relieved him of his COO duties, and not only did you make yourself better, make us better, but you made the Authority better. And I thought it was an interesting spot because it almost for a little while kills what appeared to be heat between Triple H and Seth Rollins. So,
oh yeah, it's been. I feel like it's been heat. I feel like there's been heat there for the last month or two, probably the last 2 months, really. Like,
right tonight it was dead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they and they're smart, but at the same time, I almost feel like what was it? I guess after a Sting match, he was talking crap like he didn't need the authority to protect him or anything like that. So I almost feel like now, okay, we put Kane against you and you won, so now we're going to sort of suck up to you again. And he's put together, I mean, he's had a solid 6-month title run.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, it's not a Bruno Sammartino title match or title run or Ric Flair or Hulk Hogan title run. But, I mean, he's getting the wins, whether by hook or crook.
Yeah, true. He does. I mean, he always finds a way. And more times than not, it's a pretty legitimate win. Maybe not the Randy Orton series of matches; those were ridiculous. But otherwise, he's won pretty convincingly when he's had to. I just thought it was interesting tonight how he finally got his validation tonight from Triple H. And what was good is when they laid out this mini tournament and the number one contender tonight, it wasn't like a setup. Like you felt like they've kept putting these obstacles in front of Seth Rollins to trip him up and make him lose. But tonight it was more like, well, we have to have a pay-per-view match at Survivor Series, so we're going to find you an opponent because you've beaten everybody. And for once it felt like they weren't setting him up, which I thought was cool. And we found out that the winners from last night, which were Kevin Owens, Cesaro, because he was in a 6-man match, Dolph Ziggler, who was also in a 6-man match, and the returning Alberto Del Rio would take on opponents who also won their matches, which were New Day participants, Adrian Neville, and I want to say one other, which we'll get to. All would have their chance to go on to a fatal 4-way tonight. Now, we'll skip around here. Alberto Del Rio made his return last night, which was huge news, captured the U.S. title with his new partner, Zeb Coulter, who is his new manager, who him and Del Rio have denounced America, and they're not the un-Americans like Christian Lance Storm, they're the ex-Americans, and they formed their own little crew here. Del Rio had an excellent match against Adrian Neville tonight. The crowd seemed to eat it up, but what we saw is Neville, as we've talked about here weeks prior, he can't get a win. The guy can't get a win, and he's probably one of the best workers, if not the best worker on the roster. Mark Madden has said it best in some of his articles that his biggest fear about Neville is he'd become the new Evan Bourne, and that seems like is what has happened to Neville, unfortunately. And he took a really devastating loss tonight, Del Rio. He went for a high flying move, got caught. He got stuck in a tree of woe, and he got hit with that double foot stomp move that Del Rio does. And it just really was a brutal win for Del Rio. And Del Rio also used the super kick that he used from last night to beat Cena. So it was a pretty convincing win for Del Rio. So I'd have to ask you, Vic, how do you feel about Del Rio being back, and how do you feel about this match? And how do you feel with his relationship with Zeb Coulter? So really 3 questions for you. Well, interesting you feel that way. I'll defer to Killer Kev. Kev, what have you thought about the return of Del Rio?
You know what? This is going to be real interesting for me. On the very basic level, I'm excited to see Del Rio back because I've always been a fan of Del Rio. And with John Cena leaving, with Undertaker basically out of the picture now, Kane was supposed to be out of the picture. I don't know how much he is. With these departures, it doesn't look like there was a very exciting window opening up here for the future of WWE unless you really start pushing some of this young talent. But putting Del Rio back in, I think that makes things a little bit more exciting because nobody really saw Del Rio coming back last night like he did, especially with Zeb Coulter of all people. I mean, what a way to completely put an end to what was at times a very interesting, but most of the time a really bad idea by WWE writers. So I kind of like that. On the other hand, though, I'm going to get a little political here. And because Del Rio's return, to me, gives more questions than it does answers. And the reason why is because if you remember, Del Rio didn't just leave this company. He ran from WWE and told every media outlet that would listen that WWE was a racist organization, that he was harassed and discriminated against, and that's why he went out. Ricardo Rodriguez backed that up with his words. And the fact that WWE did not sue Del Rio for slandering their name, for making their product look bad, for dragging them down, I think that spoke a lot of credence to that. But you have to wonder, Del Rio holds a title in AAA. He was a central figure towards the end of Lucha Underground's first season, and everybody was expecting that he'd be back for season 2. So if WWE was so bad and so racist, why would Del Rio return? And for me, there's only 2 answers. The first one and the most obvious one is they gave him enough money and they gave him enough prestige that he overlooks it. And from what I am reading from some other websites, that turns out to be a case. He got a big money contract, and he also got a contract that said he didn't have to work any house shows, and he got limited TV dates, which plays to a lot of what Del Rio wants out of his career right now. Not quite a Brock Lesnar deal, but still a pretty sweet deal, and one that I truly believe Del Rio earned in any right. So I'm not complaining about his contract at all. But the bottom line is, WWE, a racist organization, essentially paid Del Rio to keep his mouth shut and come back to work, and that's what he did. Right. So that, if that is the case, then what good is Del Rio's word if he said that WWE's racist, but he's willing to go back and work for a racist organization for money? That kind of really doesn't do his word any good. The only other reason I can see Del Rio coming back is because WWE and Triple H took Del Rio seriously and investigated the claims of racism. They found it, they cleaned it out, and they promised him that it would never happen again, and Del Rio was satisfied with that. And that may very well be the case as well.
He needed a paycheck. He needed a paycheck. Let's not forget about that.
Yes, I just covered that. Sorry.
Man's got to eat.
Big Vic got disconnected there for a minute. I just covered that aspect. But the other aspect is, Triple H cleaned up everything. Del Rio's satisfied with that. If that's the case, then what I think Del Rio needs to do is go back into those same media outlets where he said WWE's racist and now say, I've seen the evidence myself. They've cleaned it up. I'm satisfied that they're doing right by me. But if he doesn't do that quickly, then again, that puts a pall over all of his remarks that he says. And how can you trust what Del Rio says if he doesn't declare that WWE is legit again?
Shit, he comes out with Zeb Coulter, I believe anything he says.
Well said though, Kev. I mean, I look at everything you said there, and it's clear they've set him up for success, right, this time around. And one of the things that I heard loud and clear when I was listening to some of his interviews, he was very, very unhappy with the particularly the Batista program he had to work before WrestleMania of Daniel Bryan's year. He felt he was treated as almost like a mid-card talent to just put over Batista. And I've never thought Del Rio was the top guy, but he certainly was a top guy. But the one thing that was always missing with Del Rio is a mouthpiece. And the problem with Zeb Coulter was he was the mouthpiece without the worker. Now you have literally one of the best workers with one of the best speakers. This is a good marriage, I think. We'll see where they go with it. So I think it's interesting, but I did feel very badly watching Neville tonight. I mean, it was a great match, but I just thought it was a very brutal loss. I thought it was a very brutal loss, just the way he lost. He got beaten badly. But it is what it is. You can't win every match.
Not in WWE. You trade wins in WWE.
Not Neville. He doesn't get the benefit of the doubt. That's for sure.
You know what? If there was a cruiserweight title, he would have it. Until that point, he wins to have his matches.
Yeah, one of the matches that wasn't really that great was Dolph Ziggler fought Biggie Langston. Ziggler wins this one with the zigzag. There was nothing really great to know here outside of the fact Tyler Breeze was he at ringside for the main event no for this match he was at ringside with Summer Rae, and that is Ziggler's new feud. Tyler Breeze comes up from NXT, so that should be interesting. We saw them go at it on SmackDown. So Ziggler moved on. The first match of the night was also a qualifier for the Fatal 4-Way. So we have Ziggler in, we have Del Rio in. Roman Reigns took on Kofi Kingston. And can I say, was this not one of the best matches of the night, Vic?
It was a surprisingly good match to lead off the show. I figured based on how much WWE is shoving Roman Reigns down our throat, which they still are, I figured it'd be about a 4-minute match. But it was a legitimate match. It was a legitimate and a very long match.
Yeah, it was really good. I thought Roman made Kofi look excellent, and I thought Kofi made Roman look excellent, which is what makes a great match. And you can have somebody be a mid-carder like Kofi Kingston, and have
him wrestle a 12-minute match against a champion contender.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It was a good. You know what it reminded me of? It was like a good WCW 80s Saturday night match. Reminded me like Ric Flair versus Ricky Morton of the Rock and Roll Express. You have a great athlete versus one of the top guys, and they just put on a really good match. And this is what this was. I keep thinking back to Kofi Kingston versus Brock Lesnar, Beast of the East, where Kofi only got about a 3 or 4 minute match and still looked pretty good, but he got squashed. It shows what a difference a couple months makes for the New Day, because Kofi absolutely did not get that treatment here, and Roman Reigns is one of the top guys. So good win for Roman Reigns. When Biggie interfered to end the match and Roman hit the Superman punch, I think if that Trouble in Paradise Kofi attempted hit Roman Reigns, he would have killed him. That kick was so sharp. He missed and got hit with the spear, but I think it was a good thing he didn't get hit with it. But man, I like Kofi Kingston. He did a nice job tonight. Same thing with Cesaro, Kevin Owens. That was the second match of the night, which was also a qualifier. Kevin Owens pretty much got dominated the majority of the match, but it was a very physical match. It was very very entertaining. It really showcased Cesaro, but Cesaro made one mistake in the match, which led to him getting hit with Kevin Owens' power bomb. Kevin Owens hit a vicious super kick, which led to him hitting the power bomb. And I don't really remember Kevin Owens using the super kick too much, but it was a good match. It was a good match for sure, but mostly all Cesaro. Cesaro did that spinning European uppercut off the rope. Has he done that before? I don't really recall him doing that.
I think, yeah, he's done it before. It hasn't happened in a couple of months, but it's a pretty cool move. I mean, that was like back maybe like right after WrestleMania when he was getting sort of his post-WrestleMania push, like all the good wrestlers get. And it was probably like one of the first Raws after WrestleMania he did it, and he's done it a couple times where they were like almost full-fledged, like Cesaro wrestle Cena and takes him 20 minutes. It was like right around that time.
I have a question for you. I get Kevin Owens is on his way up still, so it's like, it's not too much too soon. They're bringing him along. He's in a lot of key feuds. He wins the IC title. He beat John Cena. He's looked great. He won the NXT title. They've done a real good job with Kevin Owens. And I don't mean it to beat the Kane thing down, because I love Kane. But, Cesaro has been on a little roll. He did lose his feud to Kevin Owens a couple months ago. But,
you didn't really lose that. I didn't think he lost a feud, though. I mean, was there a clear, decisive winner to that?
Yes.
I didn't even think.
Owens
Okay.
did. Well, here's my question, though. Cesaro is such a good worker, and he puts on such a good show, and you could really believe him to be a main eventer type. Why wouldn't you use him in a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view against Rollins rather than Kane? I mean, it hasn't been done before, and you already have Lesnar versus Undertaker.
Or you know what I was thinking? The worst match of the pay-per-view, in my opinion, was Kevin Owens versus Ryback, and it wasn't because of Kevin Owens. If you put
it wasn't
Ryback
a good match.
Ryback, you know what? He has this freaking chant. Put it on the pre-show, please. I want to see Cesaro Kevin Owens go 25 minutes because that, you know what? Even if you put him over, it's a match they can both win. I don't think Ryback at this point. I don't think Ryback gets a win out of lasting 10-15 minutes with Kevin Owens.
Ryback's in a bad spot, dude. And I like Ryback, but it goes back to what I said last week about the roster today. The roster is just too good. There's too many good workers. Like now you throw Alberto Del Rio on top of it. Ryback's never gonna get far. I mean, ever. You honestly, and I'm not making a joke because I love them together. It is time to get the Axeman and Ryback back together. Rybaxel, my favorite. Dude, what they started doing at Rybaxel the last 3 or 4 weeks with the vignettes on Main Event, those guys were awesome together. And Ryback's just never going to be a main eventer. Like, it worked when he first came in because it was new and different. But, you know, he doesn't stand out.
He's second place to John Cena all the time.
Yeah, I mean, but, you know, John Cena makes everybody look good, you know? And, you know, Ryback had his match tonight with them and the Dudleys took on Barrett, Rusev, and Sheamus, and rightfully so. Barrett, Sheamus, and Rusev go over them. You know, 3 talented guys versus 1 talented guy, Bubba Ray Dudley. You know, I mean, it's tough for Ryback. The 80s are over, dude. You know, but I do think at some point, you know, Ryback will probably either become a mainstay in NXT or he'll be a tag team guy. I mean, it's just not working out, and I hate to say that because I like Ryback, and I thought his pay-per-view match with Owens last time around was really good. But I think
you know what, man? All I can say is the big guy can wrestle on SmackDown.
Yes,
every week. That's about it.
Well, you know what it is, like what a big guy like Ryback that looks like badass, like. Whoever he fights, like, if he has a match with somebody for the first time, it's very interesting. Like, when he first squared off at Rusev, I was like, wow, this is a big match. Then when he fights Owens, oh, this is a big match. But once it happens and he loses, even, like, with Wyatt, I felt that was big. It's just, now Ryback's been through all these guys, and he's lost to all these guys. You know, I think that's pretty much it for him. I hate to say it. I mean, I don't think he's off the roster or anything, but I don't see anything big for him. I do think Barrett and Sheamus are going to be a tag team, and I think they'll be great in the tag division. Rusev, I love the Bulgarian playboy, as they called him tonight. He is the love fest that goes on between the 3 of these guys after they win matches is unbelievable. They really do like each other, and it's very clear. They're a great stable. Big fans. So. What's that, bud?
I said interesting.
Yeah, so you know that leads us to the main event tonight. And
what was your favorite qualifying match out of the 4 winners matches tonight?
I would say it depends. If it was just pure match, I would say Reigns and Kofi. However, I thought Del Rio Neville was really, really interesting. I don't know why. I thought that was a brutal match. I think the match was more well worked, Reigns versus Kofi athletically, but Del Rio Neville I don't know, man. Neville was like unbelievable, man. He's just such a good worker, man. Like even when he gets,
it really is. I mean, he gets his spots in, and he's good. I mean, to hit the spots. The one thing that bugged me was I don't know. I just didn't like the way this progressed, and it knocked a lot of people out that I felt could have been a pay-per-view contender, or at least built it up. I almost felt like it would be better off if they figure out, okay, who's the number 1 contender from the winner's bracket, who's the number 1 contender from the loser's bracket. for tonight and then have a match next week. I thought they could have stretched it out a little bit.
Yeah,
just
definitely.
Because number one time, I mean, it was a lot of matches and a lot of good matches, and all of them had high stakes feuds in them. But at the same time, I mean, Raw's been a freaking dog lately. So, shoot, I think you need to, if you can expand the chase a little bit longer, by all means, do so.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought they but I thought they put a lot of content on one show, which you don't really want to do. You know, one thing that people used to complain about WCW is on Nitro, they would blow through all their matches, right? Like you give everything away in one night. And I felt like that kind of happened here tonight, that they blew through a lot of stuff that probably could have made multiple Raws, especially after all the great matches we saw tonight. Then to have the Fatal 4-Way kind of just thrown out there in the end. I was kind of exhausted from the pay-per-view last night, and then that match, it just didn't really have the oomph. And that Fatal 4-Way was awesome. That match was awesome. And I don't know about you, but I was very tired into that match. I wasn't mentally ready for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was awesome.
We had our ideas who might win, but at the same time, we had enough people who could win, and WWE's shoving on our throats that it was still, there was a lot of put in the air right there.
Well, there was, the main event's interesting because couple things. There was a weird segment backstage between Ambrose and Reigns. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It was really weird. And basically Reigns was kind of like just getting ready for the Fatal 4-Way, and Ambrose was really, really honing in on, hey man, get your head straight. This is, what we've been waiting for, why we came here and why we work here. We want to get this title. And it was kind of an odd comment that Ambrose, what would he care? I mean, he obviously wants Reigns to be the champion and win, which it was great because they're friends. But he said we. And I really thought that was odd because, well, Ambrose wants to be champion. I mean, we know that. He's went for it. So I just thought it was weird. And then the way he looked away from the camera when Reigns walked away, I was kind of like, is Ambrose going to be the reason Reigns ultimately doesn't get the title, or why he's not going to win the 4-Way tonight? So I really thought Ambrose might play a role. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you know what? He still could in the pay-per-view. I mean, Seth Rollins, he's won every way possible, pretty much.
I don't want to jump around, but I don't want to lose this either. When I think about how certain guys are protected and pushed, Reigns is obviously a guy who's protected, which is great because he is a good talent. You know what I thought was interesting? I know I just kind of cut you off. I don't want to do this, but I don't want to forget about this because you know how much I hate Braun Strowman and how much I think he sucks. When Kane went out to fight the Wyatts and beat down Luke Harper and beat down Rowan and even got the better of Wyatt, why did Braun Strowman have to be the guy that slowed down Kane? I'm so tired of that. Aren't you?
Yeah, but you know what? I think WWE still doesn't get that Braun Strowman is the X-Pac of 6'5" and a monster. They don't get that yet. And I think they will. I think they're close to it. Nobody likes him.
He's terrible. He's limited.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating because they feel like they need to if they just keep pushing him and keep putting him in wins and putting him in dominant situations, then you know what? Everyone's going to start liking him. And it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for... I don't know who I feel bad for. I mean, I don't know who's doing the writing for WWE or who thinks that, hey, he's going to be great. But I don't know. I was a little... My concern the entire time, well, I guess last night with The Undertaker, apparently, I mean, he's supposed to be so well liked and so supported backstage, and the entire Wyatt family comes out and does their thing, and nobody says anything. I mean, I'm sure, I know that question's been asked, and silly to ask it again, but in reality, where's Dean Ambrose? He hates those guys. Where's where's Roman Reigns? He just beat Bray Wyatt.
I know. It's odd. Where's Kane?
Exactly. I mean, Kane, you know what? I feel like this is going to be, yeah, but you know what? I feel like this is going to lead to Kane and Undertaker and maybe Ambrose and somebody else versus the Wyatt at the pay-per-view. And what I can see happening, I can see Kane turning his back on Undertaker, leading that into WrestleMania, and that being the last match.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I just wanted to bring up Strowman looking strong because I thought of Roman Reigns there. So we have the main event. This was an outstanding match. You have Alberto Del Rio versus Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns versus Dolph Ziggler. Now, you know, my intuition told me there's no way Reigns won't win this match. Reason being, Alberto Del Rio just came back and won the U.S. title. So they're not going to do that again. They just went through the U.S. champion being the world champion. I know Ziggler's not going to win the title because he's just starting the program with Tyler Breeze. So I really thought it came down to two guys, Owens and Reigns. But I thought to myself, Owens is a heel, and he just won the IC champion. So I don't see that happening. So it seemed clear Reigns was going to win. What I will say is, at the end of this match, I literally thought every single guy was going to win because they all hit such convincing finishers. And I thought Seth Rollins did an outstanding job on the mic when he kept talking. Like, he got so excited. He was like, this is what the WWE title's all about. Guys giving it their all. This is awesome. That was really good. That was really cool. That really
that's pretty entertaining because he's like, oh man, you tell. I mean, he's obviously rooting for the heels to win, but at the same time, it's like, how excited would he really be if Kevin Owens won?
He wouldn't be.
Exactly.
Owens is the worst matchup of all these guys for Reigns or for Rollins. I think Rollins is luckier that Reigns beat. I don't know. It's funny how Reigns just kind of abruptly beat Owens tonight, but to me, Owens has just been a wrecking machine. I wouldn't want to fight him.
Oh no! I mean, he's a freaking monster, and he leaves people in his dust.
Owens is nasty, dude. I mean, Owens can beat you out of anywhere, and he's got a lot of weapons. But you know what? Roman Reigns got a lot better. I want to say it was in the Kofi match. Do you remember when he had Kofi on the ground? He literally picked him up by the shoulder, one arm from the ground, and like one arm power bombed him into a pin. It was like a one-arm tiger. It was like unbelievable tiger bomb. It was so awesome of a move. I was like, oh, that guy's strong, man. So, you know, these workers in this match I mean, you got Ziggler and Del Rio in there. You know the work's going to be good. You got Owens in there. You know it's going to be good. And Reigns has gotten a lot better. I mean, really, he really has gotten a lot better for sure. And, you know, the fans love him. So, you know, it worked. It was a good match. I think all the guys had a good shot at the end of winning it. Ultimately,
I think the key thing with Roman Reigns, and I've noticed this because I was reading an article about it, and I forget where, but the biggest thing with Reigns is getting rid of the silly, I need to punch my fist on the canvas before doing my finishing move, and I can't just hit it. It's almost like a Superman punch out of nowhere versus Superman punch out of a whole lot of preparation and warning to everybody.
It's like the meat hook.
Well, you know what? I would say it is, but I feel like it's more like the RKO. Because, like, think about it. He hit it. He was going up for a pop-up powerbomb with Kevin Owens, and he hit it going into that move.
It's better that way.
That's what I want to see. I want to see it like I want to see the Superman punch out of nowhere.
It's like Tito Santana's flying forearm. You know, it's a cool move.
Yeah,
I mean, think about it. Somebody's jump, like running and jumping and punching you. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, he's a big guy, and he's over with the crowd, and he's very agile. So, I mean, shoot, I'm eating it up, but at the same time, you don't need to do a 5-minute prep. I mean, if you're Shawn Michaels, you can kick the mat a couple times to call your win at the pay-per-view or on a big show, but you don't need to do it for beating Kofi Kingston. And
Shawn Michaels' best super kicks were the ones that were out of nowhere, such as Shelton Benjamin jumping up from the apron to the middle rope and diving onto HBK, and HBK snapping off Sweet Chin music, and it appeared as if Shawn Michaels killed Shelton Benjamin. That's a great move. But I actually
Shelton Benjamin or the super kick.
No, Shelton Benjamin with the super kick. But tonight was a similar ending. I mean, it came down to Owens and Reigns after everybody hits their finishes on everybody. Reigns happened to be outside the ring, and Owens called him in the ring, and the crowd was awaiting a big showdown, and Owens said, "Come on in the ring. Come on, I'll let you in the ring." And as Reigns stepped through the rope, Owens took a cheap super kick on him, and then it looked like he was going for the power bomb for the win. Superman punch out of nowhere, and then the spear. It was a kind of a cool ending, but somebody had to win and somebody had to lose, so I had no issue with any of this. I thought everybody looked good.
I was going to say, I'd rather see that than see WD or a DQ on both teams, a double DQ.
That was cool. The only person I thought really came off looking bad from the series of matches was Neville. I just thought Neville got beaten pretty ferociously. I thought Del Rio was just an animal tonight, and he was even in this match. Del Rio looks like a different guy. I mean, he's in really, really good shape now. Not that he wasn't in good shape.
I couldn't believe it. Like, I'm like, holy shit, he looks like he's dropped like 25 pounds.
It's awesome.
And holy shit, yep. Like, what? You don't look like the Del Rio. I mean, that Del Rio, he definitely had some pounds packed on, but at the same time, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not charging money for anything, what are your thoughts on?
Before you go, just on that comment, what a lot of people forget about these guys is they literally are on the road the majority of the year, and proper dieting, and I mean it's very difficult. So the fact that you get a guy like Wade Barrett or Dolph Ziggler that could stay in the shape that they're in, it's very hard to do. So you look at a guy carrying an extra 5 pounds, 10 pounds. That's understandable, So kudos to Del Rio for coming in the shape he's in. Hopefully the lightened schedule will allow him to keep how he looks, because he looks like a superhero on TV. So, I think it's a lot of it has to do with the lifestyle. I mean, look no further than Caitlyn, who used to be in WWE. Go Google pictures of her now. It's like a different person. But sorry about that. I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just saying, I mean, look at the bang for the buck on the next pay-per-view. And I'm a big critic. I almost feel like I'm partially have your cake and eat it too with WWE. I hate it when they wait 4 weeks before they make the main event announcement or announce 4 to 5 other matches or 6 out of 7 other matches. I hate waiting, but at the same time, don't give it away the first week.
Yeah.
So I feel like they should have had, okay, you know what, here's a fatal 4-way next week to lead off the show. And maybe have the guys riot at the beginning of the show or something before the bell sounds, and that's the reason it's delayed.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think what they were trying to do is do something different. Like they were trying to do something. I like what they did. Here's what's funny. I give this show tonight a very annoying A-, which makes no sense, right? I think you gave me too much to watch, too much content, and too much to think about. But it was all great. So an A-, which I don't think I'd give out an A unless something incredible happened. So I think I gave it A- 2 weeks ago as well. Not last week. I think I gave it a B or something like that. But I mean, the shows have been really, really good. So, they're keeping me interested. But, I just think I agree with you. It was too much. It's not really a complaint. It's just, I get worried, like, can you fill content for the next couple of weeks now? Kev, what do you think? How did you feel about tonight's show overall?
You know what? I will agree with you. It was a great show. Maybe a little too much stuff to give us to think about. That's okay for this week. I'd like to see him balance it out a little bit because honestly, last couple of weeks of Raw, I've not been very impressed with, not been very motivated by. Tonight's Raw really set things on fire towards Survivor Series, and I like it.
Yeah, me too. Well, I think well said. Well said. We'll see what happens. I think we have a powerhouse main event with Reigns versus Rollins. We saw the standoff at the end of the night. The story's there. The build-up's there. This one's going to deliver. And I don't think WWE, no matter which way they go, whether they put the belt on Rollins, whether they put the belt on Reigns, you can't go wrong. So, good place to be. That's good booking. So they've booked that right. Hopefully Ambrose won't play a role in it. I mean, just let one of them win. We'll see what happens. What do you think, Vic?
I think Vic got disconnected again.
Yeah, I think so too. Kev, quick question. So, we got through all the content tonight. Now I know we're simulcasting now. Or I guess wouldn't call it simulcasting. We're dual casting. Are we going to talk about some of the shows on the other network or on our network? What do we do here?
Well, we'll plug a few shows from the VOC Nation here because they're great guys. VOC Nation is ran by Pro Wrestling Illustrated writer Brady Hicks. He was originally a part of the original network several years ago when it went live on the internet, and it's now, he wasn't the originator of it, but it's now his baby that he fosters, and he does a lot of great shows on there, not just wrestling related, but lifestyle related too. But tomorrow night at 9 p.m. on VOC Nation, it will be Brady within the room, along with our own Jordan Garber and the Stro. I don't have a rundown of what they're going to be talking about or if they're going to be interviewing anybody, but In the Room is the flagship show for VOC Nation, so you definitely want to check that out if you're listening on VOC.
Stro as in the maestro from WCW?
The one and only.
And is he the guest or is he like a regular host?
He is one of the co-hosts of the show.
That's awesome.
Now, if you want to listen to him as a guest, you'll want to listen to last Thursday Night AMP, where we brought the Stro on as a guest, and we talked a little bit about his wrestling career, and we talked about his acting career, and Stro also gave his pay-per-view predictions.
So one more question. I'm in awe here. I'm feeling this VOC Nation here. So are you telling me that my buddy Jordan Garber is actually a regular co-host with the Stro? He
is.
That's awesome.
Isn't that something?
That's so cool. I can see why we have the connectivity to these guys now. That's very cool.
And of course we've had Brady on Angry Marks Podcast Network many times over the years. We always bring him on for the annual PWI 500 review, as he is involved with selecting who takes part in that as well. So it's very good. Some of the other shows on VOC Nation that you'll be able to listen to, if anybody in the Angry Marks Podcast Network is interested. Besides In the Room, we've also got Top Rope Radio at 7 p.m. every Tuesday night. On Wednesday nights, we have WCW Retro. On Thursday nights, some of the more social aspects of it, you get Faces for Radio at 5:30 p.m. and you get Dimple Date at 10 p.m. Friday nights at midnight, you get Her Dork World. And on Saturdays, we have Midnight Man Cave right at midnight, and then at the other end of the spectrum at 11:30 p.m., Funhouse with AK. There's your lineup there for VOC Nation. Of course, on the other side of Angry Marks, if you're not on VOC, then you're on Angry Marks, which means at 9 p.m. instead of listening to the End of the Room, you're going to be listening to the Undisputed Wrestling Show with Q-Bar Carmichael, the NWA Continental Champion, the Morning Star Will Huckabee, and independent wrestler Drew Skills, and the bearded wonder Zane Paisley. Can't forget about him. Tomorrow night, our guests are going to be Bobby Fulton in the first hour and Officer Rod Steele in the second hour. So a great legend and a mainstay on the independents. Wednesday nights, Glove Up or Shut Up with Stevie J and Peter H, covering everything in mixed martial arts. Thursday night AMP on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. with Stevie J again and Jordan Garber and the Great Sudoku. And they will cover the latest in professional wrestling, mixed martial arts, and the like. And if we can track down Rob the Mini, we might talk some NFL football as well. And Friday nights, it's Over the Top Radio with Ed in San Antonio, covering the rest of the pro wrestling news and mixed martial arts news that we might have missed throughout the week. And sometime this weekend, I am certain that we're going to locate Mike Poulin, who's gone MIA on us, and we're going to get Seth Draken together. And Seth and Mike's Impact Implosion will record yet another episode as the final days of TNA Impact Wrestling wind down.
God help them. I just hope the VOC Nation does realize that they're probably not going to truly believe that Big Vic literally is in another city every other week, and then he'll broadcast from Skype in Germany and weird places like that. But this guy really does travel the world. So one of the jokes is consistently where is Vic this week? And generally he's either in some other country or some other state. He lives a very fabulous life, believe it or not.
He does. He is a globe trotter.
He really is, which is funny. So he actually, like we said, he will be at the Breeders' Cup this weekend in Kentucky.
Yes.
We're all very excited. We're very excited.
Yes, and I'll be joining him in the revelry, but you're not going to be there, Tenzai. Why not?
Because I have little Tenzais that need me.
You could bring along the little Tenzais. It's going to be trick-or-treating. There's going to be 3 nights of trick-or-treating here.
Are you seriously going down to the Derby, or are you not?
Yeah, I'm going to be there.
Oh, you're going? That's
yeah,
awesome.
we will tailgate our asses off all week.
Well, let me ask.
Well, I take that back. Vic will tailgate his ass off all week because his job is cool like that and lets him pay for that. My job isn't so cool, so I'll just be tailgating all day Saturday.
You think Pharaoh wins it? It's a tough ass.
I think everybody's behind Pharaoh. Have you looked at the odds lately? I mean, yeah, Pharaoh is here. It made the news. He is in the Lexington area now.
He's going off at 3-2. He's the favorite, and he drew lane 4, and lanes 1 through 4 have 37 winners out of those spots, and then 5 through 8 is the next best spots, winning 18 Breeders' Cup winners. So Pharaoh got a very good draw. And there's been some big horses that pulled out, so the field isn't overly huge. You got 10 horses, and there's some great ones in there, but it should be a very interesting weekend. We're proud to have covered a good week of Raw, and looking forward to next week, and hopefully expanding to some new fans.
There you go.
So Kev, to the big dick who is not with us at the moment. We really appreciate having everybody here, and we'll see you next week. And Godspeed to everybody. Hit the music, Mr. Killer Cav.